Hello, hello out there, everybody at IQMK Global Nation. This is Lynette Domingo. I am the product and international markets business trainer for IQMK Global and author of Muscadine Lifestyle. So good morning, good afternoon, and or good evening, depending on where you happen to be in this world. I am in California, and in the US, we are celebrating May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. So this podcast is going to be dedicated to learning a little bit about MusNatural's neurological benefits. Let me start off by saying that Muscadine Lifestyle, the book, is based on over 380 clinical trials and scientific studies that Mike and I researched, studied, read, categorized, cross-referenced, and basically put into this book. And chapter 6 talks about the brain's function and or dysfunction depending on the types of toxins that that you are exposed to, and how MusNatural is able to start to reverse some of those processes if you take it consistently and properly. So contrary to popular belief, you can live till you die with 100% mental function. You do not have to suffer from degenerative diseases, neurological diseases that start off with something like, lack of concentration or brain fog or memory loss, which then becomes something much more serious like dementia or Alzheimer's disease. There are ways to properly feed your brain so that you can remain properly functioning until death. So the foundation of good mental health, you guys, is good overall physical health and wellness. Every year, 6.4 million Americans have a stroke, and nearly 130,000 of them die from it. There's no doubt that stroke is a serious health issue associated with the brain, but discussion of brain health goes beyond the health of blood vessels in the brain. From minor cognitive issues such as brain fog, declining memory, lack of concentration, to emotional issues such as depression or anxiety, which is something that's been plaguing our especially our young people the last couple of years. Let's see. To major degenerative disease such as Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, and the like. An increasing number of brain-related disorders have been sweeping the world in the last decade. Despite the seriousness of the situation, however, scientific research regarding various brain disorders and disease is still in its infancy. Nevertheless, there exists some concrete evidence on how to prevent such chronic neurodegenerative diseases, not to mention those cognitive issues that we experience as we age. Let's take a look at the basic function of the brain by looking at the two types of brain cells that exist. Okay, there's the first one, which is the neurons, and in a healthy brain, neurons, also called nerve cells, become sufficiently stimulated, and an electrical signal is sent down its axon, causing the release of chemical compounds called neurotransmitters to pass signals to the next neuron. This activity-dependent connection, referred to as synaptic plasticity or neural plasticity, shows that it's the number of synaptic connections, not the number of neurons, that measure a person's cognitive ability, which explains why a 40-year-old adult is often more intelligent than a teenager. Although the teenager has more neurons, it's the adult's increased networking capacity, despite losing neurons due to aging, that is more effective. The brain follows the use it or lose it rule, which means that your brain requires constant use to maintain effective brain function. And neurons generate and propagate electrical and chemical signals, whereas the other type of brain cells, which are glia cells, their function is mainly to protect and modulate neuron activity and signaling. So glia cells, they outnumber neurons, and without them, neurons cannot survive because glia provide structural support and insulation. There are three major subtypes of glia cells. There's the astroglia, which supply nutrients to the nervous tissue. They control the cell development and synaptic plasticity. They support blood vessels in the brain, repair the blood and spinal cord following mechanical or inflammatory injuries. There's the oglioglia, which provides support and insulation to the axon, and it creates the myelin sheath. Now, degeneration of this sheath is characteristic of multiple sclerosis. So you can tell how important that myelin sheath is. And lastly, you've got the microglia, which is the brain's immune cells. And those are activated by physical injury, pro-inflammatory cytokines, or various degenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, Huntington's, or MS. Once activated, these cells operate as microphages or janitors. They clean up dead cells and debris, or they also act as antigen-presenting phagocytic and cytotoxic cells. Basically, what they do is they are pathogen fighters. They clean and they fight pathogens. So when you talk about the brain has special challenges. And let's go over those right now. So your brain is extremely susceptible to oxygen deprivation. 3 to 4 minutes of it, and you're considered significantly damaged. And after 5 minutes, you are considered brain dead. The brain uses 20 to 30% of the body's entire energy, even though it's only 2% of the body's weight. And they do this because it needs to maintain that synaptic activity. Insufficient oxygen, which is caused by poor blood circulation, means insufficient energy production, which will result in poor brain performance. Also, your brain will suffer if given an insufficient supply of nutrients, right? That makes sense. Neurotransmitters need various vitamins, minerals, and amino acids to properly function. As we age, reduction in the levels of neurotransmitters occurs, causing memory loss, depression, reduction in mental acuity, and insufficient information processing. But nutrient supplements can counteract such deficiencies. So, case in point, let's talk a little bit about grapes and brain health, because there's a lot of studies that have been done on it. They suggest that grapes help promote healthy cognition. In a pilot human study, elderly patients with mild cognitive decline who consumed grapes every day for 6 months preserved healthy metabolic activity in regions of the brain associated with early stage Alzheimer's, where metabolic decline takes hold. And they also noticed that improved working memory and attention was noted. So grapes in general are a natural source of antioxidants and other polyphenols, but I'm going to explain to you how MusNatural and Muscadine grapes are far superior than regular grapes. The next challenge that your brain faces is fat oxidation. Your brain is the fattest organ in the body. It is 60 to 65% fat content. And when brain synapsis transmissions occur, there are 4 fats that are involved. 2 of them are essential omega-3 fats. And the reason why they're considered essential is because the body cannot make them on its own, and it must be ingested through food. So these 2 omega-3 essential fats are DHA and EPA. Eating saturated fats, which is mostly animal fats, trans fats, or fried vegetable oils will make the membranes of the neurons rigid and unresponsive, leading to improper neuron function and brain inflammation. So chronic inflammation in the body is bad, but brain inflammation, wow, that's next level. So chronic consumption of these bad kind of fats, or the wrong kinds of fats, will counteract brain health, leading to neuron death and neurodegeneration, which is the precursor for dementia and Alzheimer's. Maintaining healthy brain function is dependent on your consumption of the proper fat sources, which are basically your omega-3s. And you'll see them right here. You've got your fish, salmon, avocado, your nuts, certain grains. So yeah, you have to eat the good fats, not the bad fats. And if you don't, then you suffer from oxidative damage, which is like oxidative stress. So maintaining healthy brain function, you have to do that by reducing oxidative stress. How do you do that? Well, the 4 fats consisting of the membranes of the neurons are all polyunsaturated fatty acids, or PUFAs. Now, these PUFAs are unstable and are prone to free radical attack, especially due to the high oxygen supply in the brain, which is necessary for energy production. So you have a high content of oxygen, which leads to oxidative stress, but you need the oxygen for the energy. So you need the correct types of nutrients to help protect the PUFAs. Lipid peroxidation. Kind of sounds crazy, right? You know what it stands for? It is oil going rancid. That sounds, and if you've ever actually smelled rancid oils, it's not pleasant, right? And this rancid oil in your brain reduces membrane fluidity, increasing the leakiness of the membrane integrity. That's kind of like having a leaky gut, but in your brain, right? And it causes damage to the protective myelin sheath. There's a molecule, and it's a free radical that is especially harmful to the brain, and it's called the hydroxyl radical because it attacks the brain's important proteins, including receptors, antibodies, transport proteins, and enzymes. There's increasing evidence, guys, that reveals oxidative stress in the brain is closely linked to Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, and other neurodegenerative diseases. Yikes. The next challenge that your brain faces is that of sugar and starch. Glucose is the brain's primary source of fuel. Keeping the blood sugar level balanced is critical to protecting the brain. If your source of glucose is mainly sugary foods like donuts, croissants, muffins, cakes, candy, or sugary drinks like sodas and fruit juices, which are very high in sugar. You are subjecting your body to a great deal of damage and danger because they elevate the blood sugar level really rapidly, like fast, right? So when that happens, it causes the pancreas to secrete large amounts of insulin to lower that blood sugar, and that leads to insulin resistance and chronic inflammation. Again, inflammation bad for the body, really bad for the brain. Insulin resistance may damage your cognitive system that would lead to dementia states. Prolonged conditions such as this may lead to Alzheimer's disease, which is why some doctors refer to Alzheimer's disease as type 3 diabetes. You know, you've got type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Type 3 diabetes is because it's so closely linked to your sensitivity of glucose and sugar. Statistics show, as a matter of fact, that diabetic patients are twice as likely to be inflicted with Alzheimer's disease as non-diabetics. Keep that in mind, guys. So if you're facing pre-diabetes or diabetes, if you don't get that thing under control, you're looking at the probability of dealing with Alzheimer's conditions within your brain. So, fix it now while you have a chance. Fix it before your brain cells start to suffer from your bad choices, bad fat choices. And this leads to a vicious cycle of getting fat, right? And then when you get fat, you become more inflamed. That inflammation causes insulin insensitivity, which then you become more depressed. And when you become depressed, you get cravings, and then you get fatter. And it's just like a vicious cycle. Let's take a look at this in a graphic form. So here you are in this corner. You eat fat, you eat sugar, you like it, you crave it. Then it has addictive properties. Then you move over here, and your blood sugar level spikes. Right? When that happens, dopamine is released into your brain, and that's what creates the addiction. That's what creates that obsession with the sugar. Massive amounts of insulin is secreted to drop the sugar levels. And then when your sugar levels drop, guess what happens? The high insulin levels in your body now cause immediate storage of fat, and the body then craves the lost sugar high. So because your body's looking for the sugar high, then you're hungry and you have cravings. So the low blood sugar levels causes increased appetite and cravings, and then this cycle is repeated. It's a vicious cycle that doesn't stop. So just don't get into it. That's the moral of the story. Fortunately, here's the good news. MusNatural is here to help. MusNatural comes in a few different products. The flagship product is the capsules, which is right here. The extract, which is a liquid form, is much stronger. It's a little bit more potent, and it's a lot more concentrated. Then it comes in liquid form and in a juice. Also, there's a snack, which is the muscadine grape with honey, and then it also comes in a coffee form. Right? So what is muscadine? It is a grape that has 20 pairs of chromosomes. Other grapes only have 19 pairs of chromosomes, and it grows only in the southeastern part of the United States, mostly in the Carolinas. The muscadine needs the harsh cold of the winter and also the hot humidity in the summer in order to thrive. It only harvests once a year in September, so it needs, it takes the entire year to grow in both extremities. If you take a look at this graphic right over here, you can see that the skin of this muscadine is really thick, and so pests cannot penetrate it, and they try and they give up. So there's no pesticide needed when muscadine is growing because the pest cannot penetrate that skin. And then moving on, you'll see that muscadine grapes have over 100 polyphenols. And the interesting part about that is, and that's why there's so many different types of testimonials of health benefits that muscadine and MusNatural has been able to accomplish, because each polyphenol, each of the 100 polyphenols has its own health benefit. So, kind of putting all of that together synergistically, they work really, really well. And most people, the longer you're on the product and the more product you have in your system, you'll start to realize that there's different benefits that you will receive along the way. So let's go back to those challenges that we went over in the beginning, right? So the basic challenges of the brain initially was that it needed high amounts of oxygen and good amounts of supply of nutrients. Well, guess what? MusNatural's benefit is that it greatly enhances blood flow, which is great because it brings much needed oxygen to the brain and to the extremities, and also ensures that vital nutrients are delivered to the whole body, including the brain and the extremities, and the types of places that are deprived of food and nutrients when circulation is impaired, like your hands, your toes, your fingers, your eyes, right? So that's why your eyesight starts to go. So when you take a look at this brain and the blood flow, freely going into it, you'll see that it states here that unclogging blood flow to the brain could open floodgates to treat neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's. So when you've got really good blood flow in your body, and more of it's going into your brain, and it's feeding your brain the proper nutrients and the proper amount of oxygen, that's the beginning of brain health. So the other thing that was a problem was fat oxidation damage, which is free radical damage, right? So what's the best way to alleviate that? And when you take a look at this graphic, you've got Alzheimer's disease, which, you've got inflammation here, you've got insulin sensitivity, then you've got your carbohydrates, those nasty carbs, those breads, and then you've got your sedentary lifestyle, and then you've got your Western diet, which is SAD. You know what SAD is? SAD is the standard American diet, which truly is sad, because this is what it is. It's mostly laden in fats and sugar. So the healthy brain has a lot of PUFAs, which is the polyunsaturated fatty acids, and the omega-3s, which come from fish, and lowers inflammation. And then you've got the healthy exercise lifestyle, and then you've got your polyphenols, which, remember, Muscadine has over 100 polyphenols. And how do you fight oxidation? Well, you have to have a very powerful antioxidant for antioxidation, right? So right now, nature's most powerful antioxidant is MusNatural. It's the most powerful on the market with an ORAC score of 895. What is ORAC score? ORAC is oxygen radical absorbance capacity. What is its capacity? Its ability to absorb the free radical damage, right? So if you take a look at some of these other ones, you've got noni, and you've got acai, which is kind of scoring low, and then you've got mangosteen, which is in the 200s, and you've got a regular grape juice of 273, but 895, 3 times more potency in antioxidant strength with MusNatural. Now, let me footnote this a little bit. MusNatural is a formulation from IQMK Global, and this 895 ORAC score is specifically for the MusNatural formulation. And the reason why I say that is because there could be other Muscadine supplements out there that might score, you know, higher than the others, but maybe not as high as 895, because remember, MusNatural uses only the top 2 varieties of the 18 varieties of Muscadine that's available. So, so if you're gonna fight oxidation, fight it with the most powerful antioxidant on the market, which is MusNatural. All right. So how about the sugars and starches? Well, when your pancreas secretes those large amounts of insulin, it leads to insulin resistance and chronic inflammation. Remember, we went over that in the previous slide. Well, remember, chronic inflammation leads to some really, really bad stuff, right? Like all these dread diseases that, you know, that humanity is dealing with right now, including right here, guys, neurological diseases. All neurological diseases stem from chronic inflammation. What's MusNatural's benefit? MusNatural is a very potent anti-inflammatory. It helps to mitigate the symptoms of today's most dread diseases, because it will help you fight, your body fight and your brain fight that inflammation. Then that is again another reason why it's going to help you to alleviate some of these stressors. Next up, health is a choice. Well, we all know that, right? So let's go over like the last 3 reasons why MusNatural is so important to help with cognitive function. Remember, the first one was that it enhances blood flow, enhances the ability for your brain to get fed and proper nutrients and the proper amounts of oxygen needed for you know, that synaptic connection. Number 2, it's a very strong antioxidant, so it helps with free radical damage. And number 3, very, very potent anti-inflammatory, which of course inflammation leads to you know, different kinds of cell damage, and then also leads to dread diseases. So health is your choice. You know, you need to choose wisely. You need to choose what you're going to put into your system. Okay, so I'm going to read this really quick, and it's going to say, each of us can enjoy optimal health when we cooperate with the inherent wisdom of the doctor that lives inside us. Okay, when we supply that doctor with proper tools and nutrients in a comfortable, non-toxic environment, we can start correcting all of those biological processes that have gone awry and revert any disease state that might be in progress, guys. When your body is healthy, whether your body's healthy or in a disease state, supporting that internal physician is the best thing that you can do for yourself. Okay, as Dr. T. Colin Campbell, the author of internationally famous book China Study, succinctly states, nutrition is the master key to human health. And if you want to live free of cancer, heart disease, diabetes, cognitive dysfunction, Alzheimer's, dementia, MS, Parkinson's, Huntington's disease, for your entire life, that power is within your grasp. It's within your decision making. Now, remember Hippocrates? He was the father of medicine, right? He said, let food be thy medicine and medicine thy food. Don't go pharmaceutical. Go holistic. Use medicine as your food, and food as your medicine. All righty. Well, I always have to say this, neither Muscadine Lifestyle or myself intend to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. This presentation does not attempt to offer medical advice of any kind. Always consult your personal physician or other medical professional prior to starting any kind of diet, exercise, or nutritional supplement program. All information contained in this book is derived from hundreds of clinical trials, scientific studies, and my personal experiences. These studies references can be provided by making a request in writing to IQMK Global at 416 Fleetwood Place, Glendora, California, 91740. And last but not least, guys, if you want to hear more about testimonials, all you have to do is go to www.muscadinelifestyle.com. That will take you directly to our YouTube channel, and there you will meet Joe, who had an injury to his eye where he was completely blind, and through his Muscadine intake and through surgery and he was able to bring that eye back to about 90%, right? And the doctors are just completely baffled about how that was even possible. So there's also an antiviral video of a study that was done at North Carolina State University, showing that Muscadine has the ability to fight virus, all virus, not just a special kind of virus or, more potent kind of virus that you might see, all virus, all bacteria. Okay. Then you'll meet the box of illness guy. He was called that by his doctors because his doctors just said, you're just basically, you have everything under the sun going against you. And you'll hear about how MusNatural was able to start to reverse many of those degenerative diseases. Okay. And then you'll hear a little bit about Bell's palsy and my friend here who was able to, after 3 days of using MusNatural, was able to significantly lower her pain level and inflammation levels. And then, of course, there's our good friend Tanya, who is going to talk about the 3 main components, which is the blood flow, the antioxidant and anti-inflammatory, right? She talks about all 3 of those benefits. And then, of course, last but not least, there's me, and I'm talking about my anti-inflammation in my knee and my ability to avoid knee surgery and avoid pain by supplementing with MusNatural. So again, guys, I really, really appreciate your time, and I'm hoping that you're able to take some of this information and really study and really, take it upon yourself to advocate for your own health, advocate for your own mental health, because guess what? No one's going to do it for you, but we will help. Us at MusNatural, at IQMK Global, we will help with your overall health and mental health. So until next time, guys, stay happy, healthy, vibrant, grateful, and blessed. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.